This is the moment. I know, I usually give you guys time to get off, but I'm going. This is your moment, Robbie. This is your time. Time to get everything off the line. Okay. So, this is the moment. This is the hour. Time to put everything on the line. You can sit in my chair if you want. I'm not going to sit down for a minute. You're good? Okay. Do you feel like everybody's looking at you now? Okay, good. Now they are. So, time to put everything on the line. So, would you be willing to put everything on the line if you were promised that you could have the life you want to live? Yes or no? Yes. You'd be willing to put everything on the line if you could be certain that you could have the exact life you want. Yes? Yes. Everybody good with that? Yes. Anybody not good with that? Because guess what? If you're going to put everything on the line, you've got to take some risk. How are you with risk? How are you with taking chances? Scared, okay. Okay. So putting everything on the line. Where do you think that comes from? It's an interesting thing. I looked it up. Where does it come from, this concept of putting everything on the line? Well, actually, it is a strategic tactic in war. That's how it began. Way back in ancient Greece, they would put all of their soldiers on the front line, their best men, their strongest leaders, including the leader. Imagine the President of the United States going to Afghanistan and going into the front lines. Or the President of any country, or the leader of any country stepping into the front line saying, I am here with all of my best, bring it on. That doesn't happen anymore. But those people, the people that we think are too important to lose, stay in the background calling the shots. So we don't really put everything on the line. We're way too strategic for that. But in the ancient days, even when they built a building, they made the architect stand underneath the structure when they pulled all the scaffolding away, because if it fell down, oh well, you didn't do it good. That is how on the line people used to be. So my question to you now is to say to you, are you willing to put everything on the line? You know, one of the lyrics in the song is about fear. You know, I will no longer have fear. You know, I'm no longer going to let fear make me stand still anymore. No more fear. I don't want to stand still anymore. I have a quote for you from John Fitzgerald Kennedy that I would like to read for you. He said, "There are risks and costs to action, but they are far less than the long-range risks of comfortable inaction." Comfortable inaction. How many of you are living in a little bit of comfortable inaction? It's good that you're raising your hands. I'm taking notes. Comfortable inaction. It gets comfortable to just stay inactive. It gets comfortable not to go after our dreams. It gets comfortable to say, I'm okay. Like Karen was saying, I'm good right where I am. This is right after our talk last week. And the lyric is, I will not be broken by some fear. I will not stand still again. And you know what fear is? Fear is not taking action. Our inability to take action comes from fear on some level. So our theme this month is taking action. Confucius said this: when it is obvious that the goals cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the action steps. So my question for you is, what are your action steps? What are your action steps? Now, I want to look at your fears. I want to look at all those things that are standing in the way. When you go to the front line, when you take yourself to the front line, what are you going to confront? Your enemy. Your enemies. You're going to confront your enemies. Now, Karen set me up brilliantly, because this all takes place in the mind first. Your mind is the battlefield. Your mind is the war, if that's how you choose to live your life. But if you are raging a war right now on trying to get what you want out of life, but finding that you keep coming up short, then there is a front line you need to be willing to put everything out there, all of your greatest beliefs, your greatest thoughts, and face your enemy. Do you want to know? I have an acronym for energy. And you know, I love acronyms. You all know that. But sometimes I go to make an acronym, and it's just so frustrating. I'm like, okay, I'm forcing this. This is not going to work. But I want an acronym for enemy. Bing. Came right to me. You ready? Enticing negative energy mesmerizing you. I know, right? That's what I said. Enticing negative energy mesmerizing you. Now, the irony here, of course, is that mesmerizing, you knew I was going to go there. We trace our roots in New Thought back to Anton Mesmer, who created the concept and the understanding of mesmerizing, which then went on to hypnosis, which then went on to spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer. That's how we trace it back. But there is this mesmerizing thing that goes on in life. And your enemies are the negative beliefs and thoughts you have that hold you to a life of this comfortable inaction. And you are mesmerized by them. This belief that there is not enough in the universe, there's not enough in the world for you, is a mesmerizing thing. It just runs over you. And you are just, I was going to say blissed out, but kind of not blissed out, just out. So think about that. What is it in your life that right now is mesmerizing you? I feel like Dr. Walker when he gave his talk on linoleum. Mesmerizing you. I see why he did that. So what is actually happening in your life that is mesmerizing you? Just give yourself a moment and ask yourself. It could be a diagnosis. It could be a financial situation. It could be a relationship issue. It could be so many things. I work with a lot of people that aren't happy with their bodies. That's mesmerizing. What we feel about our bodies mesmerizes us, and usually it mesmerizes us into a state of you're out of shape and you're never going to be able to fix that. I'm mesmerized and now I'm in perfect inaction, comfortable inaction. Well, this is the way it's going to be. This is the way it's going to be. I sat with someone this week at Dr. Joe Hooper got his doctorate, and it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. But at dinner, I sat with someone who had just been diagnosed with throat cancer, the same thing I had. And as he went to talk to me, his voice was all destroyed. It was very destroyed. And he said, "Did that ever happen to you?" I said, "No, it didn't." I said, "It didn't. That never happened to me." And he said, "Well, how do I get over this?" I said, "Well, you stop accepting it. You stop seeing yourself as someone with that. And you allow yourself to know that there is that perfect voice inside of you that can go back to its default setting." But what I understand is that he's mesmerized by this whole thing called cancer. And we all get mesmerized by these things in our life. And they're the enemies. And they entice us, don't they? It's so enticing. Don't take that risk. Don't go out on a limb there. You're really comfortable in your studio rental apartment. I know you say you want to own a house, but it's more safe here. Don't take a mortgage because you don't have to do it here. Think about how cheap this is. And we get comfortable with that enticement. Don't take that risk. Don't quit your job. Oh, I know you hate it, but hate it for 20 more years so you can get your retirement fund. And hopefully you won't die before then. Think about it. We are literally mesmerized by these things in life, enticed into thinking that that's the actual way it works. Enticing negative energy, mesmerizing you. All there is energy. That is all there is. Johann Wolfgang Goethe said this. Love this. Thinking is easy. Action is difficult. And to put one's thoughts into action is the most difficult thing in the world. So we are part of a religion that teaches change your thinking, change your life. Of course, I've already edited that to change your beliefs, change your life. Because as you know, your belief creates your thought creates your feelings create your emotions, and your emotions take you on a ride. So get the emotions in check by knowing what you feel, go back and take a look at what you're thinking, and then find out why you believe what you believe. There's the work, backwards, from what's going on to what caused it to go on. So, yes, one of the hardest things in the world to put your thoughts into action. But you know what's even harder, Wolfgang? to put your beliefs into action. Your real beliefs. If you are going to walk around saying, I am God, you really better be living as God. And I know that we are really getting clear on the idea that God is everything and everywhere. And it's so funny, as I say that, God is everything and everywhere, I am catapulted back to sitting on a couch with my mother when I was at St. Bernard's Catholic School, and I was learning, who is God? God is everything and everywhere. And here I am, 60 years, oh no, I'm not 68. Here I am, 50 some odd years later, I'm not doing the math today, 50 some odd years later, saying the same exact thing, but maybe for one of the first times in my life understanding what it means. So I love what Karen said about saying to someone, my whole family is born-again Christian or Catholic. So they all come from that idea that the Bible is literal. And you know what? I have stood up here many times saying that Jesus, when he was walking on water, it was low tide and the apostles were drunk. So clearly he looked like he was walking on water. But I don't say that anymore, except to tell you what I now believe, which is, who am I to say that he didn't walk on water? Maybe he did, because as your friend said, God is inexhaustible and unlimited. But here's the thing. Jesus also said, what I am doing, as Annie Oakley said too, whatever you can do, I can do better. Right? But Jesus wanted us to say to him, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything. I don't go there. So, yes, I can. Yes, I can. So, my husband is watching this online from San Diego, and he starred opposite Bernadette Peters in this and sang it with her. So, I can do it better. So, you know I can't. So, he and I are going to sing that someday here at church. Would that be hysterical? Yeah. Yes, with Kevin. Me and Kevin. Yeah, that'd be. It's a whole different talk, folks. Okay, so Ernest Hemingway says this: never mistake motion for action. Just because you're moving around doesn't mean you're doing anything. That's me, by the way. He said the first part. I say the second part. Just because you're moving, how many of us move around a lot, right? I go here, I go there, I'm doing nothing. Not if I'm not changing my mind about what I'm doing. If you hear yourself constantly saying to yourself, God, I hate this, or you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm going there again. Okay, let me rev this up a little bit and let me make this a good day. Why work so hard? Realize that whatever it is you don't like doing, there's a reason you don't like doing it. It's not part of your authentic makeup. Do something else. But to do that, you have to be brave enough to bring all of your most powerful beliefs to the front line and stand there yourself with all of them and say, bring it on. And create that line that doesn't let anything through. No enticing me with your negative energy, and no mesmerizing me. No. We have to be willing to do that. So the second part of my talk, Karen mentioned this. We've been doing, first of all, the Beyond Limits class for all of you who are in it, live and online and in this city or other cities. I'm very grateful to you all for being part of this class and for allowing me to teach science of mind in such a complex adult way and not babying you with the old concepts that I'm only going to have to change 2 years later. So it's interesting to me, and I want you to know, those of you that are in that class, and this is a beginner class, I took what we did in beginner class on Wednesday night and brought it to the ministerial class on Thursday, and it was just as deep and just as complex to get it. So we have the ministerial students who are the furthest you go in terms of teaching before you become a minister, and then all of you who are just beginning your journey. It's the same thing. And here's what we talked about. So this is taking action. Ernest Holmes says this, and this is a great quote. I don't use my notes much, but I had like 6 quotes. I was like, this isn't happening. I'm reading them. Ernest Holmes says, everything moves through law and action. I feel like I never read that before. Everything moves through law and action. And he goes on to say that the action actually is what the law is. That's what law is. It's action. Now, just get the idea. You are the law. There's not some separate thing from you that you're using. We've taught that for years. It's inaccurate. You are the law. You are the life. You are the light. You are spirit. You are law. You are body. You are soul. You are all of it. We break it apart to figure out how do we get to use this complicated thing. Once we do that, we realize it's not so complicated. You are the law. And law is action. So what that means for you sitting here today is that your life is already action-oriented. Everything about you is moving right now, faster than you could ever imagine. Every aspect of you is evolving right now. As you sit here, you are not the same person you were 5 minutes ago, 1 minute ago, a second ago. You've just changed. Just now you changed, and you've changed again. That's what this does. And yet we think we're in ruts. How can we get into a rut when I am the divine action of the universe constantly moving forward? How can I be in a rut? Because as this action, as this energy, I'm also allowed to make my own decisions. And one of the decisions I can make is that the enemy has mesmerized me into inaction. I'm still evolving, but my experience of it doesn't match the truth of it. That's how we get into this dilemma. That's why we suddenly have financial problems. That's why we suddenly have weight problems. That's why we suddenly have health problems, relationship problems, because we have somehow put a boulder in front of this constant action and movement. So when we say divine right action, which is what I've been teaching all week, divine right action, we used to say divine right action, and what we meant was it's the Band-Aid to explain all the crap in the world. Well, it's divine right action. That's how God meant it. I'm God. I didn't mean to do that. How's that possible? Well, because I'm equal to it. Divine right action. So if divine right action is not really a noun, but a verb, and there is divine right action constantly going on at all times in the universe, God is constantly evolving to the highest and greatest at every moment. And if I am that, then gosh, I must be evolving to the highest and greatest at every moment. Thank God he said this, Emerson said this, get your bloated nothingness out of the way. Stop putting so many boulders in front of you. That's probably what the resurrection was really about. When you move the boulder away, of course you're going to ascend into heaven, the highest level of consciousness. So these stories, while they may not be literal, or they may be literal, there's still brilliance in it. So if you are sitting here, as most of my students do, saying, "Ugh, the Bible, really?" Yes, really. Read it. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And there's a lot of real, accurate things in there as well. I mean, yes, okay, so Jesus wasn't born on Christmas. I mean, it was a pagan holiday that they adopted. A lot of that stuff, when you find it out, can tend to make you think cynically about what you're reading. I don't anymore. I love reading the Bible, and I find new things in it all the time. And it makes it a lot easier on holidays to talk to my family. It does. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm just like, yeah, that's cool. How's your relationship with Jesus? Excellent. Do you have a personal relationship with Jesus? So personal, I feel like I almost am him. And I'm being honest. I'm being authentic and truthful and honest. So, divine right action. This month, taking action. So this month, you get to take action. Now, the last thing I'm going to say about this is, today, because I have the whole month to talk about it, the last thing I'm going to say about this today is what Karen started to say. When she started to talk, I went, oh, there's my number 3. She got that. No, it was great. So, taking action is not like, you don't have to go to the gym. I love this. John Livesey, you're here. I love this. John has this great trainer who I also know, beautiful man, Jay Kerwin. And he said to John, and then John said to me, abs are not built at the gym. They're built in the kitchen. And I heard that, John and I both heard that and went, oh my God, I don't have to go to the gym. No, that wasn't it. But your demonstrations of your life are not built by you going out and pummeling them into your experience. They're not. That's not taking action. Taking action is you spending the time doing the emotion, to feeling, to thinking, to belief. Oh my God, this belief doesn't serve me. What belief will serve me, and how am I going to grow that belief? First of all, keep your enemy away from you. I know people say keep your enemies close. Not in this situation. Keep your enemy away from you. Don't let it mesmerize you. And when you find yourself being mesmerized, anyone in a 12-step program will tell you this. These addictions, they're mesmerized. They're the mesmerized effects of a stinking thinking. Right? So these addictions come in and mesmerize you. Drinking, alcohol, sex, shopping, eating, all those things that people go to these programs for, they mesmerize us. And they mesmerize us in such an enticing way, we actually start thinking they're better than the alternative. And so we drink, or overeat, or over anything. And it's because we've been literally mesmerized into thinking, oh, I'm going to feel better if I do that. Keep your enemies away. But it's not just enough to just keep your enemies away. Because if you were just to keep your enemies away and do nothing on the front line, nothing's going to happen. You're going to be standing there waiting for your enemies. Not a lot's happening. But I'm going to keep my enemies away. No. So this month, when you take action, start here. Start deciding, what do you want to believe? I heard a story from one of our congregants today who was having a little bit of a difficulty with finances, who basically spent an entire day meditating on prosperity, on affluence, on allowing this good into his life. And that day received a number of checks out of nowhere. Nowhere. They just flew from the sky. No, they came in the mail. Now, you may say to yourself, well, they were already in the mail, so it was already going to happen. I don't see it that way. I see someone using their mind on purpose, and there it is. That's how powerful we are. And the first belief you may want to really look at is whether or not you believe this science. Whether or not you believe that what I believe, whether you believe what Jesus said, that it is done unto you as you believe. Because if you can get a grasp on that, trust me, you will not allow the universe to mesmerize you anymore. You will not allow your enemies to come in and dictate how you use your mind. This is the moment. This is the hour. And it's time for every single one of us to put everything on the line. All of our greatest beliefs, all of our greatest thinking, all of our resolve, all of our decision-making, all of our integrity, all of our intention, right here, and saying, this is who I am, this is what I know, and now this is what I expect. And I expect a month that has moved through us in such a way that when this month is over, oh my God, the changes that are going to take place. Namaste.